Welcome to this MyMCMedia Special Report, Vote 2014. I'm Sonia Burke. Thank you for joining us. We're counting down to the general election on November 4th. Midterm elections are often lackluster in the minds of voters both nationally and locally, but this one will have meaningful outcomes for our state and county. MyMCmedia's Krista Brick joins us from the Board of Elections with a look at what's on the ballot here in Montgomery County.
Sample ballots were mailed out to 637,000 registered voters earlier this month. First on everyone's ballot is the governor's race. It's one of the more lively races in this election. Democrat Anthony Brown is getting a home stretch run for his money from Republican challenger Larry Hogan. Pollsters are showing a tightening race between the two that could come down to convincing the state's chunk of unaffiliated voters to swing their way. Business climate, school funding, and taxes are the key issue for mail-inders in this race for the state's top seat. Libertarian Sean Quinn is also vying for the job. In addition to the gubernatorial race, voters will also be choosing their state lawmakers and their congressional district representatives. In Montgomery County, County Executive Ike Leggett is facing off against Republican challenger Jim Shallek in that contest. Taking a look at the county races and four incumbents, Mark Elrich, Nancy Florine, George Leventhal, and Hans Reamer look to retain their at-large seats on the Montgomery County Council against bids from Republicans Robert Dyer, Chris Fiotis Jr., Adel Owen Williams II, Shelley Skolnick, and Green Party candidate Tim Willard. All 5 county council district seats are also on the ballot. In the countywide school board race, 4 seats are in contention, including districts 1, 3, and 5, and an at-large seat. One constitutional amendment getting a lot of attention on the ballot could have an impact on how long it takes commuters to get to work in the future. It's called the Transportation Trust Fund, and this amendment would protect funds that go into that lockbox from being used for other non-transportation projects.
People need to understand that their taxes are going towards transportation, but they're not being protected, and it's not, and transportation is woefully underfunded. And so if people want their gas tax, their transfer taxes, their title taxes to go to transportation, then they need to care about this. Everybody hates traffic. This is one way to do something about it.
For MyMCmedia, I'm Krista Brick.
The Maryland governor's race is certainly one to watch. The candidates have received a boost on the campaign trail from some star power in their respective parties. President Bill Clinton and President Barack Obama have both endorsed Democrat Anthony Brown at events around the state. And Republican candidate Larry Hogan received some help from New Jersey Governor Chris Christie on a recent visit to Bethesda.
We're happy to have his support. It's great that the Republican Governors Association believes in this race. We've got several recent polls that show it to be a tie, and we're thrilled to be here this morning.
How can you teach Mr. Hogan about a Republican winning in a blue state?
It can happen. I mean, listen, you know, you'll have all kinds of people in the last couple of weeks of race in a tough state like this demographically who will tell you that it can't happen. And I'm here to show people I'm living proof. It can not only happen once, it can happen twice. And it's all about what kind of job you do as a candidate, then what kind of job you do as a governor. I have complete confidence in Larry and his ability to win this race. You can see that the Democratic power structure in this country are all rushing to Maryland now. Why? They're rushing here because they know that Larry Hogan's got the momentum and they're trying to stop it. And I don't think they're going to be able to.
The day after Governor Christie appeared in Bethesda with Larry Hogan, Democrat Anthony Brown held a briefing with local officials in Silver Spring to talk about the issue of education in the race for governor.
But I made a commitment going forward that as the next governor of Maryland, within the framework of a AAA bond rating, within our debt affordability, without raising taxes, our goal, my commitment will be to raise that annual average commitment to $500 million a year.
Education is also a hot topic for the candidates running for county executive. Montgomery Community Media and the League of Women Voters recently hosted a forum at our studios here in Rockville for the 2 candidates. Don Moores moderated the 1-hour forum, which began with opening statements from incumbent Isaiah Leggett and Republican challenger Jim Shallek. The candidates sparred over a variety of issues, beginning with transportation funding.
My view is that we have to solve the car traffic problem. And I don't think these very billion-dollar expensive mass transit projects are the answer for a community like ours.
But I was successful in getting the state to pass the recent tax that in effect will provide Montgomery County with about $1 billion in order for us to solve our transportation challenges.
Education was another hot topic for the candidates.
You know what the problem is? The Board of Education gets $2 billion, that's with a B, $300 million a year. But 90% of it goes to teachers, salaries, benefits, retirement funds. So there's no money to do anything else.
In the school system, programs and services basically mean teachers and administrators. And if you go to almost any system anywhere in the country, you're going to find 80, 85% or 90% going to personnel. That's the way it works because the school system throughout this country is built around teachers, administrators, and principals.
One topic the two candidates both agreed upon was about being a proud grandparent.
I became a grandfather recently.
What does that mean to you?
Oh, that's the greatest gift I've ever had.
I said, I simply want you to just say hello. And she turned to me and she said, should I say it in Spanish, English, or French?
Yeah.
That's good.
I was very proud of that. It almost brought tears to my eyes.
If you missed the County Executive Candidates Forum, you can watch it in its entirety on the MyMCMedia website. Montgomery Community Media is also broadcasting a forum for the candidates running for the Board of Education. MyMCmedia's Krista Brick says the stakes are high on the education front in this election.
When voters go to the polls over the next few weeks, one of the more important races they'll determine has nothing to do with party affiliation. It's for one of 4 seats on the Montgomery County Board of Education, a board that holds the purse strings to a $2.28 billion budget. And it's one of the more overlooked races on the ballot.
Our citizens are among the best educated in the country, and even people that you see in the community working on issues and being involved and engaged, it surprises me how sometimes they themselves aren't really certain about the process. They're not really certain about who's running for what.
Up for grabs on the 8-member board are, in District 1, candidate Kristen Tribble looking to outseat incumbent Judith Daca. In the District 3 race, incumbent Patricia O'Neill is up against challenger Laurie Halverson. And in District 5, Mike Durso looks to keep his seat against newcomer Larry Edmonds. In the at-large race, 2 newcomers, Shebra Evans and Jill Ortman-Faust, are vying for that seat.
You vote for every seat on the Board of Education, so you need to pay attention to every Board of Education race. And there are 4 seats open this time. There are 2 candidates for each seat. There are 8 candidates for the Board of Education. People need to be paying attention to the fact that, yes, there are 4 seats. They will cast a ballot in each one of those races. You need to know what your choices are.
The candidates have been meeting voters at local forums, community events, and parades, talking about the major issues for the schools, such as closing the achievement gap and school capacity for a school system that has more than 154,000 students, an increase of nearly 3,000 since last year.
We really hope people do come out because only having 16% of the voters last time wasn't really what we want. We think that other people need to come out and weigh in, and everybody in the county can vote for the school board no matter where they live.
For more information on the races or to find your polling place, log on to the Board of Election website. For MyMCmedia, I'm Krista Brick.
Taxes, education, and transportation are the hot topics that come up when you ask voters at the polls about the issues. One of the big headlines after the primary election was low voter turnout.
We were the lowest in the state, but you also have to look at, there wasn't, again, there's so many people that are not registered with one of the major parties, and there was also nothing very controversial on the primary ballot for Montgomery County. And I think that tends to, you tend to draw people out when there's something on the ballot that really gets to them. And so that's the other reason you tend to see more people at a general election, because you've got the questions and that type of thing on the ballot. We also have to keep in mind that this was the first time we'd had a gubernatorial primary in June. So the date of the primary was right after schools closed. And what happens when schools close? Folks go away on vacation. And so I really think that, personally, my views entirely, I think that also played into the low turnout for the primary election. You have to look at all sorts of things.
Turnout's tricky. I think part of it was there wasn't a lot of electricity or energy around the top of the ballot and around the governor's race. Just didn't really capture people's imagination. That was one thing. And I think that just in a place like Montgomery that is in the backyard of Washington, folks are just more oriented toward the Washington debate and the Washington political scene. And, you know, this is just, the local elections are a little bit of an afterthought.
So what are voters thinking? In this next report, MyMCMedia's Alini Barros talks to voters about their thoughts on this midterm election.
That's right, Sonia. I'm out and about in Montgomery County to get an idea from voters on their thoughts on the upcoming election.
I'm a registered Democrat, but I like to do my research. I don't think that there's enough exposure. I don't think people really know about their local elections and local government enough. So
I feel like the politics systems right now is just kind of skewed, and I'm not really a big fan at the moment, so don't want to encourage them.
I feel like one of the really good targeting strategies that they've done, at least for the presidential election, is that they targeted young people, and I feel like for the primaries they didn't really target the young vote.
A lot of the commercials are all negative, so when it comes on I just turn the channel anyway and really don't pay attention. Maybe if it wasn't so negative, and I don't know.
As most pundits would agree, it's an off-year election, and a primary and off-year election is, I guess, two offs. Hopefully people will be motivated. Maybe things will change in the meantime.
I think there was a lot of apathy towards voting. Number two, the second reason was that the voting was in June after schools ended, so many people didn't know the primary was taking place. I think with the congressional elections in November, you're going to have a higher turnout, but it's still not going to be very high.
I just think that nowadays there's so much stuff going on. People are so busy with so many different things, TV, radio, email, texting. Sometimes some of these things get lost, and the candidates and their managers need to do a better job of getting what they're saying out to the community.
For MyMCMedia, I'm Alini Barros.
Early voting is underway right now at 9 early voting centers in Montgomery County through October 30th. We talked to Marjorie Rohrer, a spokesperson for the Board of Elections, about the convenience of this voting option, and she provided some tips for voting on Election Day, too.
We now have 9 centers located throughout the county, have them in Damascus, we have them in Silver Spring, Wheaton, and other locations in the county. So you can go to any of those locations. I may live in Gaithersburg, but if I happen to be in Silver Spring at a meeting or doing something, I can decide to go to the Silver Spring location. We also have on our website what we call our wait time dashboard. So during early voting hours, you can go to our website, which is 777vote.org, and you can see the wait times at each of the facilities. So if you happen to be in Silver Spring and you live in Gaithersburg, you can look and see who has the shortest wait time, and then you can plan your route home accordingly. So it's all about convenience to the voters. Early voting's open for 8 days from October 23rd to 30th, and we're open at 10 a.m. each morning until 8 p.m. each night.
This is the 3rd election cycle for early voting, so we wondered which voting centers have been the most popular with voters.
Germantown has been very popular. Silver Spring has been very popular. Those have been our real popular ones. Certainly Mid-County and Wheaton. Wheaton is new for 2014.
If you're voting on Election Day, that's Tuesday, November 4th. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
You must go to your specific polling place. We did send sample ballots to everybody in the county. You can also check to find out where your polling place is on our website so that you go to the right location. The best thing to do, and I say this all the time, try to avoid voting first thing in the morning and last thing at night. If you've got the opportunity to vote midday, that's when you're going to find the lowest lines.
And when can we expect to see those election results?
Early voting results are released at 8 p.m. on Election Day. So as soon as the polls close, we get those up on our website. And then the results for Election Day begin coming in between 9 and 9:30. We should have our first posting up at around 9:20. And we'll update our website every 20 minutes until we've got the last precinct in.
We hope this special look at the upcoming election will inspire you to vote on November 4th or before. And we hope you'll join Montgomery Community Media on Election Night for all the results, reactions, and insider viewpoints of our 2014 Election Day here in Montgomery County. Our election coverage begins on November 4th at 8:30 p.m. on Montgomery Channel 21, and we'll also be live streaming our broadcast on the MyMCmedia website. I'm Sonia Burke. Thank you for joining us.